Hi, this is a common question I get. Meditation is one of the most complicated, simple things in the world. It's complicated because people don't understand the basic principles. Once you understand the basic principles of how to meditate, it's very, very easy to do, very, very helpful, very powerful for a lot of different things, from calming your mind to identifying what's being held in your unconscious that's holding you back from unhealed traumas, to judgments that aren't serving you, to what you're afraid of, and much, much more. A lot of people that are excited about doing shamanic journeys with plant medicines would be far better to meditate for a good year first, because if you don't have meditation skills, the plant medicines can bring so much up, it can be overwhelming and scare the living hell out of people and scare them away from a good tool. But the thing about meditation, put simply, meditation is witnessing your mind. Getting detached from the flow of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that often take people over, give them anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and a lot of other stuff, from excessive fantasies to hallucinations and all sorts of things that kind of detract from a stable mind. One of the things about meditation is that you don't need to do anything other than find preferably a quiet place where you can just relax and be with yourself. It's always better to close your eyes. Your eyes use a lot of the brain's energy and you easily get distracted by what you see. So by closing your eyes, it helps bring you inside yourself. I love meditating in a sauna or in a cold plunge. Rudolf Steiner said whenever we're in a transitional state, it's easier to meditate or to get out of our physical body and go up into the spirit realm, which would be your mind and beyond. So the first thing is just be willing to do it at a time when you can commit yourself to detaching yourself from what you need to do or think you have to do or whatever it is, the buzz. So that's usually early in the morning or in the evening before bed. I find early in the morning a better time to do it because then you get it out of the way and you don't find yourself making excuses that you don't have time to meditate, which, by the way, the more excuses you make about meditating, the more you need it. So there's a little rule that you can apply. Now, one of the things people ask is, do I need to do something to calm my mind first? Should I use music? Well, the reality of it is there's very different types of meditation. You can use dynamic meditation. If you go to Osho International, Osho produced a whole series of dynamic meditations, which are excellent for people with busy minds or people that are physically in need of movement. So one of the things you can do is meet yourself where you're at. So for example, if you have a hard time calming your mind, then start by doing a bunch of push-ups or jumping jacks. Whatever the level of activity in your mind is, meet it with physical activity. So if you're really wound up, do something physically demanding. Do that till you're tired, then sit down and just relax and witness your mind. I call my ego mind my dog. And so when I'm witnessing my dog running around and chasing tires, I just watch it and say, oh, look at my cute little dog. And then what I'll do is say, hey, come on over here, Rover, let's lay down and relax together. So I practice using my ability to see my mind and relate to my mind, the dog, and I give it a directive, come lay down with me, and I just practice letting go. And you can watch your mind just like you watch a TV show. The difference is if you're watching your mind, you're not entangled in it. The act of observation changes what you're looking at. So you'll see all sorts of stuff when you start witnessing your mind that you're not normally aware of in your daily waking state while you're driving cars and talking to people and playing with phones and that kind of stuff, because now you're actually paying attention to the contents of the flow of your mind. So for example, if you start recognizing that you have a tendency to be criticismal of others or judgmental of others, you can say, oh, I can see myself being very negative toward my mother or towards people that I call my friends. Well, the act of looking at it puts energy into it, and the instant that you identify a belief, a behavior, a thought, a feeling, or emotion that doesn't serve you, the act of looking at it transforms it and brings it out of the unconscious into the conscious. And now you can begin to say to yourself, whenever I'm with so-and-so, I tend to be negative. So next time I see them, I'm going to take the opportunity to slow down a little bit, and when I feel the urge to say something negative, I'm going to flip the coin on it, and I'm going to find a way to find something beautiful or find a way that that's actually positive. That's how you begin doing shadow healing. With music, if you find music helpful, one of the things you want to do is avoid any music with drum beats for meditation, because percussion activates the nervous system. So if you've got fast drum beats, for example, or erratic drum beats, it'll make your mind jump all over the place. So one of my favorite types of music, which you can get at almost any place that sells music, is nature sounds, the sounds of birds, the sounds of water running. A technique that you can use to help calm your mind, by the way, is if you're listening to music or you just go for a walk outside, which would be a walking meditation, you can focus on listening through your right ear for a minute, and then after a minute switch to focusing on listening through your left ear, and then a minute later your right ear, and do that for a few minutes. That will integrate the left and the right brain hemispheres, which typically has a clearing and calming effect on the mind. Now, speaking of transitional states, I talked about the sun and the cold plunge. When the sun's coming up, the Earth's energy is beginning to rise out of the Earth, and so the first hour of sunlight and the last hour of sunlight, when the Earth's drawing its energy back into itself, are the best times for things like meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, or any of the inner arts, because when the Earth's in a transitional state, it brings you into a transitional state, and that means that it's easier to witness your mind, is what I'm really saying here. Now, you can also use repetitive exercise as a great way to meditate, and you need to keep the repetitive exercise something simple, like riding a bicycle where there's not a lot of traffic, rowing on the water or on a rowing machine, cyclical, elliptical type exercises, like I said, walking, jogging, but you want to make sure that you don't have to worry about managing anything. The secret to using repetitive motion for meditation is that you need an activity like a rowing machine where your ego has to stay just enough engaged to keep doing the exercise and have you not fall off the machine or the bicycle, but because it's repetitious, the ego begins to say, oh, I got this, I don't have to pay attention. So this brings you to a state, what is classically called a hypnagogic state, where you got one foot in the conscious world, one foot in the unconscious. What that allows you to do is it allows you to get the benefits of the meditation while moving your body. And it takes you into a rhythmically induced trance state, which is a meditative state. And so for people that like movement, using moving meditations, or what are called dynamic meditations, is a far better way to go. Now, I could give you a long list of meditations. There's books that have hundreds of them in it. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to meditate. Doing mundane tasks like the dishes, raking leaves, chopping wood, anything repetitive. I've had many chefs tell me that they find that things like chopping vegetables is good, but you got to be careful where your fingers are if you're using a sharp knife. So one of the secrets is to meet yourself where you're at. If you're going to use music, make sure it's music like music by Jonathan Goldman, Hilary Stagg's beautiful harp music, for example, flute, things that does not have a beat that your nervous system will lock onto. There's a variety of fantastic meditation musics. There's also companies that make meditation music that has a binaural beats, and I could explain the technology behind it, but it's not necessary, but it can help induce a meditative state. If you go to listeningtosmile.com, Ian Morris has amazing music for meditation and healing and pain relief and anxiety relief, etc. So there's a lot of options for you there. But in essence, what I'm saying is meditation is really just witnessing your mind. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to stop their mind. You will no longer stop your mind from thinking than you will stop water from being wet. Minds think, just like bodies breathe. So trying to stop your mind means you've been very misinformed about how to meditate. The way you meditate is you watch your mind, and over time, by disengaging from it, when you disengage, you stop energizing it, and eventually it just like the fizz on soda pop, it fizzles out, and then you have these beautiful periods of emptiness and bliss and quiet and serenity, and your body calms and your mind calms, and it integrates and it harmonizes. You can also look into the technology by HeartMath. They have what's called an EM wave. They have another technology you can use with a computer called Freeze Framer. I've used many of these technologies in my work with patients. They help activate the parasympathetic system. They give you various types of feedback to make it easier for you. And those are some of the key basics that I use. I find meditation meditation to be extremely useful. I do a lot of work with astral travel. I'm a remote viewer. I also paint. So those are all things that require that you be able to hold your mind quite steady. And I learned to meditate when I was 12. My mother joined the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. When I was 15, I went to summer camp with the monks, and that gave me the foundation for my meditative practices. And I did 18 years of Tai Chi. Fong Ha was my master. I am certified in medical Qigong by Regina Gill in the Qi Lel system, which you can look up, Qi Lel Qigong. Master Fong Ha has died, so I can't refer you to him. If you look at my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, there are zone exercises, which are really dynamic meditations designed to integrate your brain, your heart, and your gut system. And they're very simple to do. I designed them that way. So there's some of my initial thoughts on meditation. Hopefully that helps all of you. I keep getting this question over and over, so I hope everybody in the world watches this so I don't have to address the question repeatedly. But without me having to be obvious, I think right now in the world is a very good time to get into a meditative practice, because right now you need your compass to work correctly, because the world is changing fast and oftentimes not in the direction we would want for our own safety and security. So calming and centering yourself, being clear on what your dream is and what your values are, and taking time for self-reflection and meditation each day can make the difference between being a crazy person on drugs for anxiety, depression, and having suicidal thoughts and feeling scared to death, versus being someone who says, I know how to take care of the things I can manage, and I'm wise enough to know what is out of my control, and therefore I'm not going to let it ruin my life. So that's my tips for you. Lots of love. Aho, Great Spirit.